Hey everyone, welcome back to 1 Minute Millionaire. I'm here with Mark Sellar. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Mate, pleasure to have you here. Now, I wanted to actually say one thing first up. The word entrepreneur gets bandied around a lot.
Yeah.
It sounds very American, and a lot of people just sort of self-proclaim that they are one. But I reckon, mate, honestly, and for people watching and listening, in the time that I've met you and I've seen what you've done, I reckon you are the embodiment of what an actual entrepreneur is.
It is a dirty word, and you put it on your Instagram, and everyone's just like, what is this?
Is you going to sell me crypto?
Yeah, correct. Like you start or have any business idea, you're instantly an entrepreneur.
So if I asked you what's your definition of an entrepreneur, what would you say you think it is?
Proactive business person.
Correct. Problem solver.
Problem solver.
Often got multiple things on the go.
Yes, yeah, probably. Usually too many things. Most entrepreneurs take on too much.
Yeah.
Like me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's one thing I've noticed in getting to know you. I mean, I have to ask, mate, because it all started almost with being on reality television and winning $1 million.
Yeah.
Now tell me, did you have to pay tax on that?
No.
Okay.
You don't pay, in America you pay tax, and in
Really?
Australia you don't.
Wow.
Yeah, so they just pop it straight in your account and off you go.
And so what was the first thing you bought?
Well, the night of the finale of my show, The Big Adventure, and I was 26, so
Yeah.
I was young. I threw a very large party. So the first thing...
Describe large.
I think there was like 100 people there, but I shouted the bar. And it just
Nice.
went nuts. Like it got out of control. And so I ended up with this large bill at the end of it, which was fine because I had $1 million. But
Yeah.
that was probably the first sort of, the first bad start to having $1 million at 26.
It still hurts, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So when you go on reality television, because I often think, is it like when you're signed to a record label? You go and live the high life, but you've got to pay it back. But in your case, you signed a waiver, you went on the show, and the proviso was if you win, you get this money, no strings attached.
Correct, but in the contract, they really stress this because they don't want it to get out who wins. They say, because they film it and then the finale isn't for like 3 or 4 months later.
Yeah.
They say, if it gets out that you win, we will announce someone else as the winner. So my show films 2 endings.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, so I won in real time.
So what if someone goes and says that you won because they want to be announced as the winner?
Yeah, well, so I think it's just like a empty threat. So what happens is the finale of my show was filmed and we didn't know 2 endings were going to get shot. So
Wow.
I won in like real time. Emotion was real. I was running around like carrying on for a long time. Did all my interviews that you do like this. Oh, you've just won and you're excited. And then after all that happened, it was about an hour later, the executive producer of Channel 7, a guy by the name of Ricky, come out. And I thought he was going to make a speech to say, well done, Mark, like you're the winner. And he comes out and says, look, I'm really sorry, everyone. Hate to be the bearer of bad news. Mark, you haven't definitely won. We're going to set everything back up again. And now Natalia, the girl who came second, you're going to win. And then he says, you'll find out who the real winner is when it airs on TV.
Wow. So that was a long 3 or 4 months.
It was a bloody, you won because the emotion was real, but
Yeah.
it just sat in the back of your mind like, far out, imagine if I didn't.
Yep, yeah. Can I ask, because I did a bit of reality telly when I was 17, and I feel like I learnt a little bit from being thrown in the deep end and having nowhere to hide, being on live, free-to-air television, and it I feel like it's helped a little bit with pitching and having confidence. How did you find that? Because obviously you would have had to go outside your comfort zone
Massively.
non-stop.
It totally did. And I think when you started, you did a lot of down the camera stuff.
Yep.
And I found you're talking to nobody. And I found it really hard at the start. And I think all of the contestants did. But because we were filmed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I was on the show for a month, by the end of it, you were just you felt like you'd been doing TV forever. And right. you got really good at it. But it helped massively.
Yeah, because you're doing a lot of content now. Do you find that's helping with your presenting and your ability to riff off the cuff?
I think so. I think you're just more comfortable. Because when I first did The Big Adventure, I'd never really done anything. And so it was sort of you could freeze up or you'd lose your way a little bit. But I think now you just get used to it.
You wouldn't have gone for that show if you didn't have a bit of a risk-taking attitude?
Yeah, well, I always wanted to do some reality TV. So
right. You wanted to be famous from an early age.
Yeah, but you know what? I think I did, but I think I would rather be famous for being a businessman than famous for being on TV.
Gotcha.
And I never really talk about reality TV.
Cole Sandilands, he kind of hits both, doesn't he?
Yeah, like, yeah, maybe. You know, I think I would love to be known as a really successful businessman, and that's why people would know me.
Yep.
Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I don't want to be known as a reality TV person.
I'm going to ask you about your businesses, but I want to ask you, being a successful business person or man or whatever, what gives you the biggest thrill? Because some people say staff, some people say team, some people say the journey.
I think in my start of my entrepreneurial career, I used to get really, really excited at the start of a business because, you know, everything's new and exciting and it all sort of feels very whimsical. But now that I think I'm getting more mature in my business career, I don't get as excited at the start because I know how much is to come.
Yeah.
I think I get more excited now about businesses when they become solid and you can actually see that they're real and that they're consistent, they can stand on their own 2 feet. That's when I'm more excited. So it's like a full shift in mentality. I think because I just learned too many times, like, this is exciting, but this is not, you know, this is not success, because this is literally the start of potential failure or potential success.
So you've sold in over 80 countries, and there's been a couple of big ones. Like, there's been a couple of ones that we've looked at, like Tumble Bear and Shader Australia, but there was a big one, Phantom Hardware. Tell me about how it started and when you first realised that, hang on a minute, maybe I could get acquired and maybe I could sell out, you know, and do a really good exit here. Yeah,
Phantom was a real funny one. So that was my first dabble in product development, and it started off really slowly, like quite small. We were selling the product, which is called the Phantom Doorstop. We had one product, one SKU, and it was sold in one store in South Australia. And it just started like this really slow sort of, oh, it's a cool product, people like it, everyone's saying good things about it. And then we had a video went viral on Facebook, because everything went viral on Facebook back then. And we sold out of all of our stock, and we got all these inquiries from people from all over the world who wanted to stock it and be distributors for it. And I think it was like, oh shit, this got really real really quickly. And then when the business really took, I think, that big step forward was we got all the patents that we were trying to get for it, and then we could license those patents to big companies. So we went from being in, like, I think we were in maybe 15 countries that we were supplying ourselves, and then we got our patents, and then we got a licensing deal with the biggest hardware company in the world, which is called Assa Abloy. We did a licensing deal with them, and so we rebranded the Phantom Doorstop into the Yale Phantom Doorstop, and Yale's one of their brands, and it just like got really big from there. And
so who mentored you to know that patenting and licensing up front was going to be valuable?
I don't think I actually had at that stage anyone to mentor me. I was just like learning everything, you know.
But what made you go, you know what, I can't afford to miss this step? Because many people would,
They do, yeah. I think it was actually probably the IP lawyer that we just engaged with at the time. Like, I think in my early days, I didn't know that much about product development and what to do. And it just felt like the right thing to do. Better go speak to an IP lawyer, you know, get a patent. And so we found someone here in Melbourne, and he's excellent, fantastic guy. His name's Ben Mott. And, you know, he was like, you can patent this and you should. And so we did. And we had a really strong provisional patent, which covers a lot of countries through the Paris Treaty. And then we managed to get a full patent in a lot of countries, and it got bloody expensive to do that, extremely expensive. But in the end, the business got acquired, and I think, you know, a lot of the acquisition sort of come down to the IP.
Really? Now I'm going to ask you about this course that you're launching, but I want everyone to just stay tuned on that and listen through till the end, because the other ones I want to ask you about are businesses that you've done now that are almost appear to have been literally born out of a problem or a scenario where you or someone close to you has experienced. But you've had the nous to actually witness it and go, I'm going to do something about it.
Yeah. So perfect example would be the Tumble Bear hats. So Tumble Bear, for anyone that doesn't know, is children's impact reducing hats. So they look and feel exactly like a normal hat. So you can like scrunch them up, they're soft, pliable, they're, for all intents and purposes, totally normal hats. However, they're lined with a very thin impact-reducing foam. So the technology is actually in the foam. It's not really in the hats. I obviously didn't invent the hat, but there's this awesome foam that you can get now that's very impact-reducing. And so we line the hats with this foam, and it gives them really good impact reducing qualities. So if your toddler is, learning to walk, running around, quite clumsy,
maybe you're clumsy as a parent,
maybe
have a little drop,
have a few beers and wear one. And so if they bump their heads, it gives them head protection. So but that was born literally out of a conversation just like this with my brother-in-law. And I said, "Oh, hey Josh, how's the kids? How's Sophie, his daughter?" And he goes, she bumped her head like really bad. And he showed me the photo, and she had this big egg up in her hairline, and she just ran into something.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh shit, that looks bad." And he said at the time, "Oh mate, kids clumsy, like they bump their heads all the time." And it was like this light bulb moment. I thought, wonder if there's anything you could do to, and obviously you don't want to put your kid in a helmet. It's like, I wonder if there's a way that you could make a hat for kids that protects their heads whilst also looking totally normal. And thankfully there is, and now that's how Tumble Bear exists.
Wow, so that one just sells and sells and sells.
It's good, yeah, we're in Big W, Baby Bunting, we've got stockers overseas, we sell a lot in China, believe it or not.
Wow.
They get made in China, and we sell a lot in China itself.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there's an insatiable appetite, yeah?
Yeah, well, it just makes sense. Like if you're a parent.
That's great to hear, because you've designed something here and it's translated to other markets.
That's right, yeah.
Parents are everywhere.
Yeah, and you don't have to sell safety to a parent. Like if you just say, hey, there's a hat that looks like a normal hat, wears like a normal hat, feels like a normal hat, but if your kid runs into something or falls off something, their head's going to be protected. It's like, why wouldn't you wear that hat?
Absolutely, especially if you're first-time parent.
First time, correct. Yeah, I think you get a bit more resilient.
So before I ask you about the next one, Shader, what I want to ask you is, we all know that to some degree with e-commerce and products, Facebook advertising has been huge. It's almost, I'm sure you'd say, it's almost been a big driver of you being able to carry your products everywhere.
Yep.
Has it changed at all?
Massively. It's a totally different game.
Is that scary?
Yeah. So, for example, when I started the shader business...
So tell everyone what that is.
So shader's just a beach shade that shades just your head. So, so you lay down. So if you're like laying there, it's a bit gimmicky, but it sells very, very well. If you're laying there on the beach and you want to get a tan, but you want to say read a book or chat to a friend, usually what happens is people just cover their face with a t-shirt or a hat, and then they can't, talk properly or read a book or look around. So the shader just covers your face, and your body can tan, and you're out in the sun. So it is gimmicky, but people love them. And
you see a lot of people getting around with white faces and
tan bodies. That's right. But yes, it is totally different now, because it's all about TikTok now, whereas when I started Shader, TikTok didn't exist. Facebook ads used to convert so much better than what they do now, and now they don't.
So is it as simple as just doing TikTok ads, or is it much different?
I think it's content. It's the quality of content. You have to do something clever and creative that catches people's attention. You can't
all the time.
You can't just run ads and just throw deals at people. Hey, 20% off, 50% off. Like, people don't care enough because there's so much screen time, and they're consuming so much content, and people are creating such fun and clever content. If your content isn't good, people will just flick past it. They won't see it. You need to create some sort of emotion or a question or get people to comment on it somehow. That's what you have to do. I think just running ads is gone.
So now that you've done this several times before, obviously you must have ideas daily. Do you have like a bit of a process that helps you rate and rank something that doesn't become a distraction but also gets to the top of the list? Or has that got something to do with this course you're launching?
Yeah, look, I do get product ideas a lot, and because I think it's because I have the means to do it. Like, I could invent something now, like quite easily, because I know how to do it. I've done it a handful of times. But I actually try to not allow myself to sort of get excited and start doing it, because it is a massive road. Even if you come up with something so simple like the Tumble Bear hat, it is literally a hat with foam in it. Developing that was so much easier than developing the Phantom doorstop. but it still took like 2 years and 100 grand. It still
Right.
took that time.
Yeah.
Like it still was so much work, so much effort.
So let me ask, this course, which I'm so intrigued
Mm-hmm.
about, is that going to bring down the year and bring down the 100K potentially?
Hopefully, yeah. The
Wow.
idea of the course is because when I started, there is no course at all that says, hey, you've got an idea for a product. This is the step one. This is step two. This is what you have to do next. And so I was, because I just did this trial and tribulation, just, waded through all these issues, and eventually I had successful products. I wanted to do something that was like fully turnkey from, here is my idea, and it could just be like a simple idea. How do I take it from day one all the way through to the end, and I have a product that I can sell, that's potentially patented, that will make money, will make profit. And so I take basically like a step-by-step journey of everything that you have to do, and I'm explaining it with my experiences. And it's not like masterclass and secrets of the trade. It's not like that. It's literally like, this is what I do. Like open book, this is absolutely everything that I do when I develop a product, and you can copy me if you want because it worked for me. And I think as well, what people don't have is the right contacts. So I'm in each module that I do, I give my contacts as well. So I'm actually giving my...
So someone in China.
Correct, yeah.
Right.
I'm giving my lawyer, Ben Mott, who I just mentioned, his details are in there. You can email him, you can call him. He's in there. The engineers that I use are in there. The shipping people in China, the injection molding people, the marketing people, the branding. Literally every single step has got the people that I use every single day.
Is there a little bit of one-on-one time with you in there as well?
You can look. There's a level. We're still working out a level that we'll do where you can where I'll sit down with you and go through it all. Yeah.
Can I share what stands out to me about that? And that is, having been involved in this startup community and scene, it's very much skewed towards tech, building scalable platforms, fintechs, and being very progressive. I think there's a whole bunch of everyday Australians and entrepreneurs who just got a really good product, like what you're describing, and they just need a bit of a help or a framework to be able to get back on track. I love that.
I think what happens is people get, a lot of people have good ideas. Like people come to me a lot usually on LinkedIn, they reach out and say, hey, can I ask you some questions? And I always say yes. And they've got this awesome idea, but I think what happens is they get to a point where they're inexperienced, they don't know what to do next, and there's usually the stumbling block is money. So that they're at a point where they have to spend money, but because they don't know the process or the steps that they have to take, they're not confident enough to spend the money. So it might be that they have to apply for a patent, and that might cost, $3 to $5 grand. But then they go like, I just don't know if I'm doing the right thing. I don't know if I'm on the right path. I don't know what's coming. And so they, I think, just stop and they lose momentum. So with the course, you'll be able to see, the whole way, everything that you got to do. And I actually put dollar figures along the way to sort of say, this is what you might spend. So just be aware of that. And then at least what I think, people get to these stages in product development and they can say, I'm on the right path. I'm happy to spend this money because I know what it's for and I know what the next step is.
It's fantastic, mate. Can we switch gears for a moment and can I ask you, given you've had a lot of success with business, that means you've obviously tried and failed at things as well as succeeding. How often have you experienced that failure or that, not necessarily a win when you've invested in someone else or something else than one of your own portfolio businesses? And why?
I made a mistake and I actually bought out a business last year. Was it last year? Or possibly late the year before. I bought a business out that was existing and I'd never done that before. And
what does that mean? So
I literally acquired a business.
Right.
Yeah, there was an e-commerce business and I bought it.
Right.
And I thought that it had problems, but I thought I could fix those problems.
Right.
And so I acquired the business 100%. And once I got into the business, I probably didn't do enough due diligence. Once I got really into the business and started looking at it, I found that the fundamentals of the business were not working. And it was like, oh, fuck, I've probably made a mistake here. How am I going to, what am I going to do with this thing? And so I threw a lot of money at it, trying to fix it and trying to change it. And in the end, if you actually look at what I spent to acquire the business and then to try and fix the business, I literally could have just started the whole business and made it 10 times better. I was just trying to fix something that was broken.
Yep.
And so I think...
What drew you to the business in the first place?
I was selling products to the business.
Gotcha.
And so they were selling my products on their marketplace. They approached me to buy it and I thought I could fix it. They said, look, it has got problems, and here they are. And the revenues were quite good, and I thought, that's all right, I can, this will be self-serving to my other businesses. I'll be able to give my products more airtime on this platform. But in the end, it was losing money. I threw heaps more money at it. I just kept throwing money at it. and look, I shouldn't have done it. And, it was a lesson learned, and I should probably just stick to, my own. I've got a lot of good businesses. I've got a lot of good products. I've got a lot of good things happening. I probably shouldn't, stray from that, because I'm good at what I do. I don't need to try and fix, other people's problems.
One question we ask everyone on this show, and you've kind of already answered, is how'd you make your first million? And we've established with you. But the next part of the question that we often get answered with this same response is, how have you, built wealth consistently? And so many people on this show, I don't know whether it's an Australia thing, say property, real estate.
Yep.
And I'm sure you're no different.
Yeah.
But give us an insight into how maybe you've diversified and made that really work for you.
Yeah, and that's exactly on the same. It's property. And I've actually made more money in property than I have in all my businesses.
Right, so it's like every successful person who creates a bit of cash flow and...
It must be an Australian thing. Like my parents were all just about like, buy a house, you've got to buy a house. It's like, that's almost like the indicator of success.
Go to uni,
get a house.
Buy a house, get a good job.
Yeah, correct. And so my parents bought some real estate throughout their lives, and they just had investment properties, and it did really well for them, and they're comfortably retired. But I think because of that, I had exposure to it, and I just wanted to be in property. So before the big adventure, I always wanted to be a property developer. It's just what I wanted to do. I love property. And so when I won the money, I had $1 million to spend, and so I put it all into property. And so the party, the $10,000 party or $15,000 party, and property.
In today's money.
Yeah, in today's money. And so I actually got very fortunate. I got involved with a very well-known property developer by the name of Ross Pelligra. Big property developer here, owns sports teams, very prolific. So Ross and I are really good friends, thankfully. Like, it was 10 years ago that I won the money. So we've been mates for 10 years. And I invested the whole $1 million into a project with him. And
wow.
Yeah, and it was very risky. No, it wasn't risky, actually. It felt at the time like a lot of people said, that is so risky. You don't even know this guy. Why would you do that? Like, you're going to lose all the money.
Is it still quite an unknown, massive family business, yeah?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know how big it actually is,
Yeah, they're huge. And so there was a project, and I sat down with Ross and all the people, and they didn't need my money at all.
How did you facilitate the opportunity? Just you asked?
One of the contestants on the show that I was on, he was a real estate agent, and he was tied up with Ross and sold properties for Ross. And so he said, mate, if you've won, let me connect you with this guy. And Ross isn't much older than me. He's, I don't know, would it be eight years older than me. And so I met with Ross, we really hit it off, and I invested in a project in Truganina, out in the west, and it went phenomenally well, and it really set me up. And so then we've just been using like the profits from that project, bought another one. Wow. And I've just been sort of rolling that original big adventure money, just continuously rolling it, and it's been excellent.
So self-sustaining is ticked off.
Totally, yeah.
What drives you?
You sound like my wife. That's exactly what she said. When are you going to stop? You work too much.
Well, I did slip it in before about the team element and all that, because I don't know about you, but I find that business can be grueling.
Yeah, it is.
But if you can do it with people that you really enjoy spending time with, Ben's behind the camera. Yeah. No, but it does make a difference.
Yeah, it does.
And it's also like it keeps you fresh to be open to new opportunities and try new things.
Yeah.
But that's just me. How about you?
I think I genuinely love doing it. It's like a hobby for me. So the fact, and in fact, what all the property does is it gives me complete freedom to do all this stuff. So like if I didn't have the properties or the money that sort of sits behind me, which I'm really fortunate because of, you know, those circumstances, I wouldn't be able to just go out continuously doing and investing and buying into these things, and because, you know, you couldn't do it. Whereas I'm lucky that I've got it there. Well, I made good decisions and I've got it there, but it's just freedom. I now have total freedom to just go out and have a crack at these things, and I love it. I genuinely love doing business.
Where can we find you during the week for like a hobby or fitness or something? Are you a basketballer or are you a
golf.
Golf.
Yeah, I love golf, and
so
I'm
wanky rich dude sport. Love it.
Yep. Drive my old convertible to golf.
Oh, convertible. Nice.
It's
a Saab.
I go to the gym at lunchtime.
Yep.
Downstairs here.
Nice.
And
what are we benching, mate?
I actually don't know. I don't. We'll go down there.
I feel like.
Yeah, we'll go down there today and find out. Probably not much. And yeah, I try to play golf like once a week.
So are you one of those dads that wants to say to your kids, don't get hung up on going to uni, getting a degree, just fail fast, or like what do you hope for them?
Hard. I don't know the answer to that. And
are you one of those dads that worries that things are going to change and AI is going to take over?
No, not at all. So I wanted to do this thing, and people might hate me for this, but and maybe it's the wrong answer. I wanted to buy some properties for my kids. So, and just sit in there. Like I wanted to say, and they wouldn't know about it. And so maybe when they turned like 25 and they were responsible, I would be like, by the way, my 2 girls, here you go. And yeah, and to me that makes sense because I feel like I'm responsible in the way that I spend my money, I invest it, I you know. But then my wife was like, that's a terrible idea. You know, if they find out that they've got it there, they may not try, they may just expect that they're going to be wealthy. And so there's like this, I feel like there's this sort of, I want to help them as much as I possibly can. And I would love to be able to set them up because I could buy something now, sit it there for 20 years, and the capital growth in 20 years will be astronomical. And I could just I could do that. And it's like, is that the right thing to do for my kids? Or is that actually a negative thing for them? And would that actually have a negative effect on them later in life? I don't know. And so I'm like,
what about the idea, it just came to me then, what about the idea of having a concept of neutral property? And it's like no matter who inhabits it through the generations, it's never owned by any one person.
Yeah.
It's just owned by the family.
Yeah.
And it's always a safe spot for if anyone falls on hard times and needs a roof over their head.
Yeah, you could do that. Yeah, it's not bad.
You like that?
Yeah.
Now what I was going to ask you was, but then what about if you just encourage your kids to follow their endeavour and their passion and they apply themselves and they love it and they're really good,
Yep.
but one happens to be in a profession that makes millions and the other isn't?
Yeah.
Is there also an element of where you'd sort of work with one to say, well, hey, you are so amazing at what you do.
Yep.
Unfortunately, it's not a $1 million earning job, but
Yeah.
I want to help you.
Yeah. I think, so before my kids were born, I always said, they'll be entrepreneurs like me. That's what they'll do. And now that they are born, I don't care what they are. I don't care what they can be, whatever they want. And so it changed. Like I thought, no, I'll definitely just be like, you're in property, you're in business, we'll do it together. But now it's like, if they don't want to be, they don't have to.
Yeah. Yep, totally. Mate, is there anything else you want to share with me about the journey, about things that you think people watching will get out of hearing about mistakes, successes, unexpected highlights, moments where you've gone, wow, I didn't expect that to have such an impact on me, but it did?
I think the thing that I would say to any entrepreneur is don't take on too much. And I have done that too many times. I think doing less is more in being an entrepreneur. And it might sound a bit rich coming from me because I do have a lot of things that I do, but my model is a lot different because I guess of the property stuff that we spoke about. I kind of have a fortunate scenario or circumstances that I can do that because my model is now that I start something and then I'll bring investors in, I'll invest in it, I'll put a manager in or a CEO, and then I'll just sit back as the chairman or as the founder, and then I will just support that business forward. Whereas that model can't really work for everybody and certainly not at the start. So I think like...
How do you know if you're taking on, like as an entrepreneur, you've worked it out through a bit of pain and through also now being smart, but how do you know when you're taking on too much? Are you having decision fatigue? Are you not having success at any one of them?
Yeah,
how do you know?
I think it's that. It's the latter. It's that you're just not having success in any of them. And the answer to, if you've got a business that's failing, the answer to fixing that business is not another business. That will not fix that business. Like taking another, oh, that's exciting, I'll go chase that, and then you leave this business and thinking that you can do both, you just can't, and it will never work. And if you listen to my favourite entrepreneur, Alex Hormozi, he talks about that all the time. Big guy, he's awesome. But he talks about it all the time, and he's so right. And I have been so guilty of this, certainly in my earlier years. I was just trying to do everything. And so, and then you could just sit back and look at it and go, I'm actually not doing any of these very well. And the reason is because I'm just trying to do too much. I'm better off to go, you know what, fuck these things. I'm just doing this, and this thing will go 10 times better, and I shouldn't have never even thought about these things.
Love it.
That's my best piece of advice. Don't do too much.
Mark Sellar, what a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Woo!